पहला सवाल ये कि जो आर्थिक विकास की क्या रफ्तार होगी नए साल में, इसको लेके आपने महत्वपूर्ण प्रोजेक्शंस किए हैं और एक फोरकास्ट आपने दिया है कि 6 से 6.8% जीडीपी ग्रोथ फोरकास्ट है 2023 का। इसका आधार क्या है? What is the basis?
No, I mean, yeah, sure. No, I understand that much. So thank you for clarifying the question. First of all, our economic growth rate this financial year is estimated to be 7%. NSO released the estimate a few weeks ago. So the momentum in the economy is going to continue. Of course, although the third and the fourth quarter growth rates will be slightly lower, there is no, if you look at the historical patterns, there is no trend that if economic growth rate slows down in the third and the fourth quarter, it spills over into the first quarter of next year. That doesn't happen. So overall, we are confident about the economy achieving a growth rate of around 6.5%. But downside risk is higher because currently industrial production, credit growth, private sector investment, private consumption, all of them are growing at a reasonable rate, and the trend will continue. Of course, any statement about economic growth is always subject to assumptions. Underlying assumptions is that commodity prices will not again go back up like we did in 2022. So subject to these assumptions, our best guess is that the economy will grow at around 6.5% per annum in real terms next year, with the range of 6 to 6.8, which means the downside risk is slightly higher than going above 6.5%. So growing below 6.5% has a higher chance than growing above 6.5% in 23-24.
राइट. सो ऐसे में ये सवाल उठता है कि आपने कहा कि इंटरनेशनल इकोनॉमी में बहुत सारी अनिश्चितताएं हैं. देयर आर अनसर्टेनिटीज इन द इंटरनेशनल इकोनॉमी एंड इन योर मीडिया ब्रीफिंग आई वाज देयर सर, यू सेड कि जो इंटरनेशनल पेट्रोल क्रूड ऑयल प्राइसेस हैं इनको प्रिडिक्ट करना बहुत मुश्किल है. बट एजम्पशन इज दैट इफ दे रिमेन बिलो $100 per barrel band, then this growth forecast will stand. So my question is that today I was seeing that the Brent crude oil prices are now hovering around $82, $83 for the last couple of days. And in fact, last week, Petroleum Minister also made a statement that oil companies should consider giving relief to common people because petrol diesel prices have been at a fairly high level since 22nd May when the last revision was made. So do you think that as a short-term measure, while these uncertainties continue to remain and cloud the future prospects of Indian economy, there is some space, some elbow room that oil companies have to give some kind of relief to common people?
It is difficult for me because I don't have the figures on oil company margins and the extent of under recovery when oil prices were higher. It is difficult for me to make a definitive statement on that. So yeah, I need to have information on the extent of under recovery and since when, whether the current prices are current retail prices of petroleum products are based on a particular number for the crude oil price, and whether the current crude oil prices is above or below that, we need to have a much bigger clarity on these numbers before I can give you an answer.
On inflation also, some very important facts have been put in the economic survey. मेरा सवाल ये था कि महंगाई के मोर्चे पर आगे क्या प्रोजेक्शंस है आपकी, क्योंकि हमने देखा है कि अभी वीट प्राइसेस को लेके बहुत चिंता है और एफसीआई ने ओपन मार्केट सेल के जरिए एडिशनल स्टॉक्स को रिलीज करने का फैसला भी किया है जिससे कि ऑगमेंट हो सके. द सप्लाई ऑफ वीट कैन बी ऑगमेंटेड इन द मार्केट. On the wheat front, how do you see the food economy now taking shape in next few months, considering the fact that you have to actually get into the market and through open market sale, release more wheat stocks?
Sure. I think the government has done this kind of inventory management and reducing the volatility and disruptiveness of higher prices and balancing the interest of producers and consumers. Those things were done in the course of 2022 and they will be resorted to in 2023 as well as and when the situation demands. But precisely what impact will these measures have on the ultimate retail price of this will be difficult to judge at this point.
Right. One question about the income tax. I remember we asked this question to you in the media briefing as well. Almost all important industry associations have given in their pre-budget memorandum that there is a need to revisit, reconsider the tax rate, because for last few years, the Aam Aadmi has not been given relief in the personal income tax rates. Now, you have said that the tax collections have been buoyant. The mood, of course, is economy expected to grow at 7% in the current fiscal. How do you see these kind of suggestions that are coming from industry? Because there is a thinking that if people are able to save more money, they spend more money, and the consumption expenditure, when it goes up, then of course it helps boost demand in the economy, and that helps boost economic growth. How do you see this thinking?
I think if we wait for another few more hours, in less than 24 hours, we will know our answers to this question.
Right. In the agriculture sector also, your economic survey says that there is a lot of investment. You yourself said that the private investment actually increased to 9% in the present fiscal. Agriculture, of course, a very key area, and I've done ground reports, sir, in villages and in parts of Western UP. And farmers are saying that we just want one thing. We don't want any kind of relief or any kind of support from the government. If you just ensure that the MSP rate that is fixed in Delhi, if we can sell our produce at that rate, we will be able to take care of our own agriculture and economy. And this is also important because they were also complaining that the inflation is still high in rural India. And in fact, the Ministry of Statistics data showed that while in urban area it has gone below 6%, overall also it is below 6%, but in rural area, I think it is around 6.05, still slightly over the RBI tolerance band. So how do you see these kind of assertions that have come from rural India about budget?
No, I think I hear your point about the farmers' preferences and inflation rates being slightly on the higher side. Of course, domestic factors, local factors will play a part in a large country such as ours. And it is difficult for me to comment on the implications, and that is why the government has continued with its food subsidy program in rural areas. And we also presented in the survey that various schemes announced by the government have brought down the out-of-pocket health expenditure of households in the country. So simultaneously, there are factors that can be controlled, and the government has done that in terms of the PM Kisan cash support that has been extended to crores of farmers in the last several years. So wherever possible for the government to provide relief, whether it is for inflation or for remunerative prices or for managing their health expenditure, etc., the government has done. That is why we call the social welfare schemes of the government as a big tent. Yes, there will be occasional short-run disruptions and inconveniences caused by price increases, and wherever possible, the government has stepped in to address and protect the purchasing power of lower and poorer income classes, and we will continue to do that.
Yeah. One last question, sir. You said, आपने अपनी मीडिया ब्रीफिंग में कहा कि जब प्राइवेट सेक्टर की तरफ से इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ेगा तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट के मोर्चे पे भी we will get positive results. Now we know that this has been the time when there is a lot of talk about tech layoffs in different parts of the world. Global economic slowdown is affecting the employment, especially in the big tech sector. इस इशू को कैसे एड्रेस किया जा सकता है? आपको क्या लगता है कि अगले एक साल में इस इशू को एड्रेस करने के लिए भारत को क्या करना चाहिए?
So in the private sector, there will be hiring sprees, as well as there will be occasional cyclical developments and setbacks. These are normal in the private sector economies. And until last year, there was a major hiring boom in the tech sector. And this year, there seems to be some cooling down and scaling back of expectations of revenue growth. Hence, there are some news that we are also reading. But these are normal cyclical developments in any economy, and these will change as cycle turns as well. But what we do expect is that as the Indian economy continues to expand, employment opportunities will get created. For example, this morning we did read that Hitachi is doubling its ATM production capacity in India. And we are also seeing that many foreign direct investments are steadily rising, and we saw the domestic private corporate sector has done more investments in the first half of this financial year than last year. All these things will eventually coalesce into job creation as economic growth continues to take hold.
एनडीटीवी से बात करने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अनंत।
Thank you.